Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. All right, let's talk about this movie using my space system. Story, pacing, artistry, characters, enjoyment. Each category gets a score between 0 and 2. 2's the best. So if I give a 0, that's bad. If I give a 1, that's good. If I give a 2, that's amazing. Um, for the storyline, I'm going to give it a 1.5, which is a lot higher than I thought it was going to be going into this movie. I thought, oh, it's just about Furiosa and whatever. And it is, but it's actually pretty expanded. Think of this as a sort of Fury Road Mad Max world movie. I'm watching this, I'm thinking this should have been a toy line, should have been a Hasbro toy line. There's so many vehicles and characters that are crazy. Um, you get to see a lot of stuff with like Gastown, Bullet Farm. Immortan Joe is like a character who's doing a lot of stuff in it. The Bullet Farmer guy too. So, and Dementis, who is, what's his face? Chris Hemsworth. It's like his story too. The first like maybe like 35, 40 minutes is him getting to power. And Furiosa's like a little kid in the beginning, and then she doesn't really come into her own till later on. Um, there's a lot going on, more than I thought it was going to be. And at no point in time is Furiosa shown to be a girl boss or any of this other nonsense that you might be hearing. If there's anything woke or girl boss or girl power or whatever, I point this kind of stuff out. You can watch my other videos where I did not like Fall Guy for all this kind of dumb stuff. Not a fan of what they did with She-Hulk. I hated She-Hulk. That's the worst thing ever. So I hate these kinds of things, but this is not an example of that. You're going to just have to trust me. I know some people think Fury Road is an example of that too. I completely disagree, and I have many points to back it up. I love all 4 Mad Max movies. Now we have a 5th one in this world. I thought it was amazing as well. So I like all 5. Road Warrior, of course, is the best. I'm not going to do a comparison video. Like, Road Warrior is the best. It's in my top 10 favorite films of all time. So, but for this one, pretty damn good. I was surprised that there's a lot of details in the story. Let's get on to the pacing. I'm going to give the pacing a 1. This movie is over 2.5 hours. This is weird. I didn't feel bored. While watching it for the first time, I thought, wow, this is pretty exciting. I'm interested in the story. I'm invested in what's going on. I think on further viewings, I'm going to find it to be long. The movies get progressively slightly longer as we go through this series. I think Fury Road was just over 2 hours, which even that maybe was too long. This certainly does not need to be as long as it was. And there is a couple of things at the very end that get dragged out a little bit, especially when you get with Hemsworth and Anya Taylor-Joy. It felt almost like, okay, like wrap this up. So they could have shaved off probably 5-10 minutes right there, just in that little last sequence where you're like, okay, you can definitely wrap this entire thing up a little bit quicker. And it was weird at the end. Exactly what happened. It was a bit weird. So I don't want to do spoilers, but yeah, so the pacing is definitely the weakest point of this movie. But again, I wasn't bored. I'm not saying you're like, oh, sitting around like, what's going to happen? It's just that I feel upon second or third viewings, you're going to feel the length. And there wasn't quite enough story to justify that length. So there you have it. The artistry, this is a 2 out of 2. It's absolutely crazy. The music, spot on, beautiful. The action sequences are insane. George Miller definitely knows how to shoot action. He's been proving that since Mad Max Part 1. So every Mad Max movie seems to get crazier with the action and crazier and crazier. And now we're at this point where it's ludicrous. I would say Thunderdome, Fury Road, and this movie, Thunderdome bridged the gap. Like Mad Max 1 was kind of more grounded, right? It felt like, ooh, this is gritty. And that's because the budget and the way it was shot. And it's just like kind of, guerrilla filmmaking. Part 2, Road Warrior, which is the best. And that's not really debated by anybody. Everybody kind of knows Road Warrior is the best. It's pretty damn awesome, right? Like you're like, whoa. But then Thunderdome kind of went into this sort of fantasy realm. So think of like Evil Dead 2, and Army of Darkness, where Thunderdome became sort of like Army of Darkness. It became everyone's got crazy outfits and like everyone could be an action figure. All the vehicles look like they could be toys. it's a, you know, it's like you got the Thunderdome, it's like Thunderdome playset with Master Blaster or whatever, and you're like, oh look, yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. And then Fury Road became like a fantasy. I think George Miller really likes Dark Sun, which is a section of Dungeons and Dragons. I love Dark Sun. It's sort of a setting, different setting. So, but the artistry here is amazing. The shots are great. You can see all the action clearly. Costuming is wicked. You can tell, like Immortan Joe's guys. You see a lot of war between the factions, and you can tell this is Dementus's guys, Immortan Joe's guys. You can tell very distinct. So I could always tell who was fighting on whose side and what was happening. It's amazing. Character surprise here. I'm giving it a 2 out of 2 for characters. I really liked Anya Taylor-Joy. I kind of like her usually in most things. I thought she played this role really good. She's definitely not a girl boss. She's beat up for most of it. There's literally, if anyone is telling you this is like some woke thing, they're completely lying to you. It's a straight white guy who literally trains her to be everything she is. Like literally, he's like, I will train you. And prior to that, she gets help from a lot of people. She's definitely vulnerable. The way she loses her arm is absolutely friggin' awesome. This isn't like Nick Fury when he gets scratched in the face and loses an eye, which is the lamest thing ever done. This is actually awesome. Chris Hemsworth is great. Like, this might be his best role. He is so awesome. He steals the show. He is having a blast in this movie, and I'm having a blast watching him have a blast in this movie. He's mean, he's a bastard, but kind of funny. There's a hint of sorrow to him, which always makes a great villain. There's just a little bit of hint, especially in these Mad Max movies, these post-apocalyptics. Like, Immortan Joe is a great character in this, but you feel that he's a bit more, well, he's a tactician. You feel more he's like, yeah, I'm exploiting these people to get power. Versus Chris Hemsworth is like, there was some sort of loss. Even with Lord Humongous, if you go back to Road Warrior, you felt that there's a little bit of a loss to him because there's certain scenes where he's looking and there's a picture and stuff. Toe Cutter, he's just a bastard. Auntie Entity, is she really a villain? I don't know. But Immortan Joe's great in Fury Road, and he's good in this part as well. There's a character named Jack who helps Furiosa, who guides her and trains her, and he's great too. All the characters were spot on for me. Loved everybody. For the enjoyment factor, I'm giving this a 2 out of 2. I really enjoyed this. So for enjoyment factor, I look at things of, did I enjoy the movie while I was watching it? Yes. Would I definitely watch it again? Yes. Would I recommend it to my friends? Yes. If you like Mad Max and action movies, I recommend it to you. Would I purchase this movie on Blu-ray or 4K? Yes. Am I going to buy the soundtrack? Yes. Am I going to get a poster? Probably, right? So 2 out of 2. I'm giving this an 8.5 out of 10. I thought it was a hell of a good time, way better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of lukewarm on this movie. Did we need a Furiosa movie? Am I glad we got one? Sure, because I'm glad to have a fun, enjoyable movie. This season of film like Fall Guy was just an absolute cringe travesty of garbage. I thought Dune 2 was way boring and long. This is way better than Dune 2, and I might lose some viewers right there from that one. But what do you want me to tell you? I had a lot of fun with this. I don't think this is going to do very well, so this will probably be the last Mad Max thing. Is Max in it? You'll have to find out if he's in it or not. There is something in the very end that happens that I do not like at all. It didn't hurt the enjoyment factor, and I don't want to mention it because it's a spoiler-ish. I really don't like it because most of the movies stand alone, and this one stood alone until about like the last minute or two, and I thought, they didn't need to do this, and I didn't like that they did do it. So that's my thoughts on Furiosa. There's going to be people who are going to disagree with me. And if you're disagreeing with me on basis on the film, then let me know. And if you've watched this to the end, put Batman in your comments. Write Batman. So only if you disagree with me. If you're in agreement with me, then we're good. If you disagree with me on my points, then put Batman in the comments, because I want to make sure you listened to all my points before you disagree with me. And if you don't put Batman in the comments, then I'm going to know that you didn't watch this entire video. So your arguments against me are not going to really matter, in my opinion, anyway. So 8.5 out of 10, hell of a good time watching this movie. Check it out. Please subscribe to the channel, like the video if you do like it. If you don't like it, you can thumbs down it. That's cool. Engagement's engagement. So that's it, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time.